This morning, I just wanted to talk a little bit about communal leadership because I think it's the way that I lead. And it's something I think I just care a lot about. And so as I think about my earliest influences of leadership, so these are the ones that probably shaped my view of what leadership looks like more than I even realized it has. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, that has so shaped me. I actually think about my family because I grew up in a family that was the epitome of the phrase, it takes a village. And so my mom, let me just explain it really quick, but my mom was an identical twin. And so my mom, she married my dad, who is Samoan, and then her identical twin married my uncle, who is Mexican. And they both sets of them had 4 kids, all in the same order. So both boy, girl, girl, boy, and all around the same years. So we were all around the same ages. And so we were this multicultural, multi-ethnic, like wild family who grew up doing everything together. So we did obviously family vacations. We went to church and youth group together. We played sports all together. We walked to school together. We did dentist appointments together. I mean, we did everything as this kind of this core unit. And so I grew up with 4 parents instead of 2. I grew up with 7 siblings instead of just 3, the 3 of my immediate family. And so our immediate family was extended to include them as well. And everyone we knew in our lives, everyone we did life with, they lumped us together as one. Kind of how this played out is while my aunt would be picking up kids from school, my mom would be driving this group to club practice, my dad would be picking up these boys from after school practice, and then one cousin would have a doctor's appointment while the other would have a dentist appointment. So my uncle would take the doctor's appointment while the family friend up the street would take the kids to the dentist appointment. And then Emma would have practice in a city an hour away. So my mom would get home and then throw 3 tacos on a plate and say, here's your tacos to go, eat them in the car on the way. We'll see you after practice, in 4 hours or whatnot. So just this, there was this never ending moving pieces in our lives. And now that I'm an adult and I can sort of look back and wonder to myself, how in the world did my parents do that? Or my aunt and uncle, how did they do that with 8 kids doing all these different sports, all these different extracurricular activities, like all the things we did. Now I'm just like, as an adult, I'm like, that is wild. What I know about the way we did life is we could not have done it without each other. There was a fierce commitment that you ride for your family because it takes a whole village to make it work. And so what I learned about leadership from my family in my earliest years, in these super formative years of my life, was that leadership cannot be done alone. And that in fact, good leadership is not done alone, but it's done communally. And I think it's why to this day, I love shared leadership. I love leading with people going after the same thing as me and doing it together. I want to collaborate in a room. I don't want to do it alone. I think it's why who I work with is actually really important to me. I always say, you could get me to go scrape gum off the bottom of benches if you give me a dope team of people to do it with. Who I work with matters, that we're going after something and we're doing it together and we're making plans and vision together. So with this type of leadership, any notion of this self-made man or self-made woman, it was annihilated in my family because we knew that we depended on our community. It was their selfless sacrifices for us that would have contributed to any success that we had. Another thing we learned is we learned dependence at an early age. And we also learned being dependable for others was also important, right? It made everything less about me being really awesome and more about the community around me that actually helped me become who I am. And this type of leadership, I think why it's so good and so beautiful in some ways is because it decentralizes this idea of me and mine, and it leans into this posture of, all right, I'm not good if you're not good. I'm not good if you're not good. And so when I think about that, those things were formed in me from living life in the family I did at an early age. But the humility and dependence I learned, uh, so important. Another word for that could just be, I learned servanthood. I learned how to serve others, and I learned that it wasn't just about me. Another important aspect of communal leadership, I would say, is that everyone plays a vital role in the grand drama. Everyone plays a vital role in the grand drama. And so let me explain what I mean when I say that. There is always a bigger story happening around us than what we see, right? Hopefully that's something that you probably already know, but in other words, we are living in a story that is bigger than ourselves, whether we know it or not, right? I think of, right, these iconic stories like Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team and came back to obviously not only make the team, but to become probably the best basketball player in the world. And now the Jordan brand is probably the most exclusive, iconic brand that is recognizable anywhere in the world. Think about my best friend in college. He played on the football team at UCLA, and he rode the bench on the football team for 4 years, rode the bench. And then in his 5th year, victory lap year, he had this wild breakout performance that led him to being drafted to the NFL. And he is now in his 13th year with the Patriots, and he's like 7-time Pro Bowler. I mean, just this crazy, this bigger story than just the days of when he was like so upset and frustrated because he was not playing at all, right? So that's what I mean, is there's always this bigger story happening around us, even when we don't see it. And so when we were in college, my college coach, when we were having a really bad practice, I remember like one of the things she would yell is she would be like, it's not about you. It's about the 4 letters across your chest, talking about UCLA. And speaking of probably this great basketball lineage and legacy that we were a part of in playing basketball at UCLA. And I think she would yell it because she was trying to get our eyes off of ourselves and off of our own glory and desires. And she was trying to focus us on what the team really needed us to be successful. And so it was like a refocusing moment of focus on something much bigger than ourselves, than just us as individuals on the team. And I don't want anyone to be on a team that I lead where they don't feel like they're a part of the story, like where their role, no matter how small it is, doesn't contribute to this bigger picture and this bigger story that we're a part of. And so I think good leaders won't always make it about one individual hero on a squad. They'll make sure their people know that what they do matters. All their people know what they do matters, and that they play a key part in this bigger story. And when we activate this in people, right, when we activate this, like, you are vital to the grand drama, people are motivated to play their role really well, no matter what it is, no matter how big or how small it is. They're motivated because they know they're a part of a bigger story. Because in community, right, people are a part of and they're contributing to something bigger than themselves. So thank you for your time today. And I pray that y'all would all lean into communal leadership in the ways that would be helpful for your teams and the people you lead.